Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee was founded in 2014 by Ed and Courtney Lemmix alongside their son, Brett. The Lemmixes are Pensacola natives with a passion for coffee, so what better than their Beachin blend, which is just that, Beachin. It's their classic combination of Colombian and Brazilian beans. It creates a superior French roasted coffee taste, lower in caffeine, so it'll keep you easy breezy. Ed and Brett are both FSU alums and are extending a special offer to our listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit thelunacoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.
From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hutchavandi
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up? It's Wake Up Warchant. It's fueled by DeLuna Coffee. DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee. Use that promo code WARCHANT15, WARCHANT15 rather, during your travels over to DeLunaCoffee.com while you explore, like DeLuna, the man who founded Pensacola. WARCHANT.com, founded by Gene Williams, still administrated, lorded over by the big guy, a.k.a. .com. Check out our website. Use the promo code WARCHANT30. Well, it's his website. I mean, I work for him, but it's still his website, right, Corey? Did I already lose you?
What? No, I'm here.
Just threw you for a loop, Corey. Let's just get you on in now. Let's get you involved. How are you? Let me check in. We recorded really early Sunday, so you weren't able to bask in the joy that you shared with all your Atlantans on Sunday evening, as well as your son. I know it's now 2 days past, but Braves fans are still soaking it in. Walk us through what it feel like.
So I'm only telling you this because, you're a friend and all of you listening are friends. Brady and I actually left in the 8th inning.
No, really?
I'm not proud of it. I'm not happy about it, but it would, well, there was a lot that went into it, but he kept asking if they get a big lead, can we leave? He was talking about the Braves. Not can we leave, but would we leave? Would we leave? He didn't really like the section we were in, like the people around us, which, look, if you're at a baseball game and it's packed and the people in front of you are 5 college idiots that won't stop throwing peanuts at each other, it can kind of ruin the experience a little bit. So that was happening. But once they scored those 2 runs, and the game was taken forever, and the Braves hadn't hit a ball hard since Peterson hit one to the moon, it's like Freeman can't make contact with the ball. I'm like, so when the Dodgers scored their 2 runs in the 7th, he's like, are we going to leave? Do you want to leave now? And I'm like, well, no, but we'll wait to see what the Braves do this inning. If they don't do anything, we can leave then. He's like, okay. So we watched the Braves go meekly in the 7th, figure, okay, that's a wrap. I was like, man, it's a bummer because they had a chance, and then they walked Mookie, and that little bloop hit, our center fielder that comes in for defensive purposes doesn't even feel the need to dive. I don't know how big a game it has to be for you to actually dive at a baseball. Does it have to be Game 7 of the World Series, Heredia? Anyway, so we're walking out. We get to the car. Brady's keeping track on his phone. He's like, hey, Rosario just singled, and he just tagged up on a fly ball to left. And we get in the car and listen to the rest of the game. And as we pull into my neighborhood, literally we're pulling into my neighborhood, Rosario gets the hit to win the game. Brady was not happy with that moment. He felt bad. He was mad at me. Wasn't a great dad moment, I'll be honest. But I also told him, and I tried to convince him, he might have fallen for it. They don't come back if we're still in that stadium. Okay. We had to get the Clark energy out of the stadium. Okay. That negative energy out of the stadium. Because I was so mad at those college kids in front of us. I shouldn't have been. They're just having fun. But it was just really bothering me that I let it bother my attitude. And I'm like, yeah, man, we can leave. They're not winning this game. And once they got that out of Truist Park, that negative energy, that's why the Braves won. So I did tell them that if there's a Game 7, I'm taking them back. And we're going to stay the whole time. And if they make it to the World Series, I'll take them to a World Series game. But not my finest hour as a sports dad.
Were they kids from Tech, Georgia State kids? You have a good feel?
I shouldn't say college-age kids. I shouldn't say college kids. I should say college-age kids.
Okay.
Because just watching them interact, there's no way those kids got into any school. I mean, it was literally like just animals at a zoo throwing stuff at each other. And they were drinking these, you know how it is at a baseball stadium. Truist Park has these, they're glasses that are the shape of a bat, and they're like 2 feet long.
Oh, gosh.
And so you can imagine what that scene was like. And they were there. We got there early. We got there at like 6 to walk around and maybe get batting practice, but we didn't get there in time. And they were already there in their seats. So they had been going at it and it was 11 o'clock. The game was taking forever. And Brady, in my defense, Brady was not against us leaving. He's like, oh, okay. When we were walking out of the stadium, he's like, let's see if they get some runs here. If they do something this inning, we can go back to our seats. I'm like, I said, we're not going back to our seats, but we'll stay in the park and watch the rest of the game if they do something. And then immediately Dansby Swanson grounds to a double play. And he's like, okay, let's go. So he wasn't completely upset that we were leaving. He wasn't upset at all. He wasn't like he was begging to stay. It's just when we pulled in the driveway, he was a little upset. I'm like, buddy, they wouldn't have won if we were there.
I mean, these are learned behaviors. Why would he want to leave early? I feel like as a kid, I never wanted to leave early. It was always like, we got to stay.
I think the walk, it was about a mile walk back to the car. Ooh. And he was thinking about, okay, that walk plus getting out of that parking deck. I mean, he thinks like an old man. He thinks like I do. He's like, oh, we don't really want to do this. We want to sit around and be in traffic for an hour and a half to watch the Braves lose 4-2. They haven't had a hard hit in an hour and a half. Their best player can't make contact. What are we doing here? And then, they came back and won. So it was exciting. So if you look at my tweet, because I tweeted out that was the first game I'd been at, first postseason game I'd been at where the Braves had a walk-off since Sid Bream in 1992.
Yeah.
I made sure not to tweet that I was actually in the stadium when it happened.
Ah, look at you.
I was at the game.
Look at that John Clark and you lawyering up.
That's right. That's right. It depends on your definition of the word is. I was at the game, but I wasn't in the stadium when the final run scored. So not happy, not proud, but what are you going to do, man? They won. They're up 2-0, Aslan. Now on to Florida State sports.
They are. Would Brady have to sit and watch the entire UMass massacre that's about to go down Saturday? Can we use the word massacre? Is that still too strong of a term? What kind of headline will we write after Florida State dispatches of UMass?
Yeah, man, massacres. I think you can still use the word massacre. Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's
you say it. You say it.
Yeah, you're right. There have been. I mean, I feel like
just
I feel like that name gets kind of grandfathered in. It's like all these football players that call themselves. They say they go to war or go to battle with each other. Yeah. I mean, that hasn't gotten completely out of the lexicon yet either. But anyway, I can see if people would be. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. But I do think this needs to be a blowout, man, for so many different reasons. It reminds me a little bit of the Jacksonville State. It actually reminds me a lot of the Jacksonville State game in the sense that all week I was saying I want to see what they build on. Are they going to be mature enough to build on that nice performance against Notre Dame and take care of a bad opponent? Or are they going to fiddle fart around it like they do and be in a game in the third quarter or fourth quarter? Same thing here. Like if they can go out and play as hard as they did and as well as they did against North Carolina, they should be up 4 or 5 touchdowns at halftime. And then you can play these younger guys. But I think that's a test of their maturity. Again, these guys have never been on a team where anybody said anything positive about them at all. Like they've never had this experience. They've gotten to kind of hold their heads high for 3 straight weeks. So how are they going to look after 3 straight weeks of holding their head high? Are they going to go out and play as hard as they're supposed to and execute and practice well? Or are they going to go through the motions? And I don't know that. I feel like I'd be surprised if they went through the motions, but I wouldn't be stunned. So it's a nice test in that sense. They should beat UMass by, I don't even know what the spread is, but they should 35. Beat them by, yeah, that fine. That seems like a fair number. They should beat them by 28 or 30 points, even if they don't play well. But I want to see them play well and be up, just crush someone. Be up 40-0 and get to play some younger guys. But go out there and take it seriously to start.
Feel bad for a team, right? Have mercy. Be like, I feel bad for this team right now. We are hurting. We are just whipping them so bad. I almost feel bad for them. Good teams win. Great teams cover. All that said, Corey, I mean, you kind of just touched upon it, but for this team to end up finishing the season the way we want them to, the way we're hoping they can, the way that just everybody's been talking about them for the last 3 days on social media, on warchant.com. Is it important for them to win in big fashion, to dominate? Will that really portend to how the following 5 games will play out, or is that us just it's worth talking about, but
I don't know that how much of an impact it'll have against Clemson, but I do think that when you're trying to build something and you're trying to establish a consistent approach, that you can't be up and down with the way you approach a football game. And I thought Norvell was good about that on Monday when he was asked about, I think Austin asked him about getting ready to play like Clemson and Florida and Miami over the next stretch. And he's like, yeah, we're not worried about that at all. We can only focus on ourselves in this week. He goes, I promise you that's all we're doing. He goes, when you look at the schedule when it's released, you know who you're playing. You're at Florida State for a reason. But no, we are solely focused on this game. And I just want to see that message get through. I feel like some messages have broken through here, and this team has started to take on the identity of its head coach and its coaching staff, and I'd like to see more proof of that. We know they're going to play hard against Clemson, but the teams that really value consistency and prove that they're consistent, they're the ones that actually get better and better as the season goes on. And it's not just a blip. Last year's team had a blip. They played hard against Notre Dame. They played hard and beat North Carolina. And then it fell into the ocean. So I want to make sure that this team, I think it is, but I want to make sure this team isn't that team. It doesn't have that type of, DNA or structure to it. And so whether they win by 35 or 65, it doesn't matter to me as much as what they look like in the first half, man. If they come out in the first half after having a week off, they should be as healthy as they've been all season. I know it's a noon game, but they should feel good. And are they going to be the type of team that just kind of not dogs it, but just doesn't give every ounce of effort on every play? Because they're not good enough to do that. They haven't accomplished anything. So I just want to see that. I'll be interested in that. That if they can go play well, I think just to me, I don't know that it means anything to the rest of the season. To me, it will be another tiny little morsel of proof that things are heading in the right direction. If they go out and are sloppy and have 11 penalties and have a couple of turnovers and give up 3 or 4 touchdowns, even if they win 55-28 or 50-20, if they don't look great doing it, then, but I feel like that maybe it's not a step backwards, but it's a step sideways. And you're always looking for steps forward. There you go. That's a quote.
There you go. Put that on a T-shirt. I just feel, I don't know, maybe it's because I went out of town this past weekend, and I feel like that just extended my time away from the team, and I feel by extension they also have this feeling that it's been such a long time since they played a football game that I don't know if I would be all that discouraged if they didn't play. Like if they, I think my score prediction is going to be 52-6.
Well, if they did that, that'd be great.
Yeah, but if they win the game 42-17, 42-21, I don't really know how much.
Well, but are they up 42-7 in the fourth quarter, and then the third stringers give up touchdowns? It depends on how it looks, right? But you would be if they're only up at half by like 11 points, and we're saying this because UMass is terrible, folks. I know they got their first win, that they are really, really bad.
Can I go? You want me to go through their schedule for you, everybody?
Yeah, sure. There you go.
So they just come out the gate, play Pitt. They lose 51-7, lose to BC 45-28, lose to Eastern Michigan 42-28, Coastal Carolina 53-3, Toledo 45-7. But took down UConn by 2 scores, 27-13. Battle for New England. They're not yet. They're multiple though. They're multiple though.
They're multiple. Yeah, that's always a fun. Way. Jimbo used to say that a lot when he'd be playing at like Bethune-Cookman or Murray State. They're multiple. They do a lot of different things. They're well coached. It's like, okay, man, you feel like so that gave me an indication when Adam Fuller, I think, and Norvell said it too. Maybe Norvell's the one that said it, that they're multiple.
Yes, he
is. Is like, okay, they have the worst defense in the country. So again, push them around, dominate them, dominate. You're not going to get to dominate anyone left on your schedule, but dominate this game. Prove that you're a vastly superior team than the one that's in front of you. Do that once. Let's see what it looks like. That's all I want to see. I want to see domination. A win is a win. I get it. I guess you would take one if it's 13-10. You'll take it. But that would be an enormous step backwards if you're actually in a struggle with this game, because you heard those scores, people. Coastal Carolina beat them 53-3. And you're coming off a bye week after feeling good, actually having some confidence.
They had an off week too, though, Corey.
That's true. Walt Bell, don't give Walt Bell 2 weeks.
Yeah, Walt Coach Pimp coming down for retribution.
That's right. They know these players. But if you've got 2 weeks off. You've had your best win in years. You're a much better team than this team. Go out there and play like it, man. Don't take a step sideways or stand still or, heaven forbid, a step backwards. Go, I don't know, prove something else. Prove that you can play well when you feel good about yourself. Like the Notre Dame game after that was a complete disaster. So see what you do. You're coming off a win, which helps, but see how you build on this, because you haven't been able to build on a good performance in a long, long time. Since 16, I guess. I want to see them go out and crush a team. This is set up for them to this team is here to get crushed. They're coming to Tallahassee to get annihilated and say thanks for the check. So, do it for them. Just don't let them hang around. Go play hard and go dominate a team. That's all I want to see, Aslan.
Yeah. That's what Kenny said, right? Good football teams just play with full effort all the time, and that's what he wants to see from them. So that would be super cool. On Jordan Travis, which we need to talk about, he's the starting quarterback of the team. He's the genesis, the nexus of all the good feeling and optimism around here. And Norvell said that he came out of the game pretty good, about as good as he's come out of any game in the past, health-wise, obviously, but also just in terms of how well he played. Again, everything, this can all come screeching to a halt if he gets hurt. But for some reason, I feel like that is just, I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen anymore, Corey. Something's happened. I really do. He's either, I think so much of this is a confidence mental thing for him. Try to ask Kenny about it, just in terms of what maybe has changed. Because still, again, man, Kenny says that they had faith and confidence in him after watching what he did last season. Okay, but you guys still brought somebody in here as a direct competitor to him. And you can say, listen, you need an insurance policy because you can't maybe depend on him. You need somebody to push him. Every team does that. You would be derelict of duty if you did not. We'll agree to disagree maybe on that. They brought somebody here to effectively take his job. He outperforms that guy the entire spring, starts the first game, rightfully so. Whatever, cramps, helmet comes off. We've talked about this ad nauseum. I'm not going to go through it all over again. But something has had to happen here, and they've talked about it's tough. When you hear everybody cheering for the other guy, there's had to be some sort of IDGAF. That's an acronym the kids use.
Mm-hmm.
That Jordan came to, and I think so much of that is obviously a mental approach that you're taking, which is also going to affect the way that you feel physically. So he's probably able to block this stuff out more. Because we see other quarterbacks that have a similar skill set to him that run around and do get hit, and they get right back up and play. So I don't know, did the North Carolina game, the way he was able to evade, because he didn't take any big shots at all, period. So is that more of an important thing for him moving forward, or do we think that he is – I know you don't think he has, but I think he's grown tougher. You probably are more of Mike Norvell. He just learned to evade contact better, and we think that's what will keep him healthy for the next 6 games. I think he's just tougher, man. I think he's mentally tougher, and he's going to be physically tougher because of it.
I mean, they might have had a talk with him, man, I don't know. It'd be nice in the offseason to maybe, especially if this season plays out and Jordan Travis finishes the season and has a nice second half of this season, to really talk to the coaches about, was there something that was said? Because he was missing practice before the Syracuse game, or at least not practicing fully, I should say. And then he comes out and plays the whole game. I wasn't thinking he was going to. And I wonder if they said, look, man, you're the key to the whole team. You're good. Whatever they had to say, you have a chance to be an All-American in 2 years. Whatever they said, we need you on the field, man. We need you on the field. Every time you're banged up doesn't mean you can't play. We've got to play through some things, and we've got to play through some things on Tuesday and Wednesday, not just Saturday. You have to get involved with this offense on a daily basis and play every day and learn the reads every day and get, comfortable with who you play with every day. They need to see you out here. I don't know if that conversation took place. I feel like I would have that conversation, unless the kid can't play. Like if he's got a torn rotator cuff or something, you can't say, hey, man, team needs you, or your torn ACL. Sorry, man, get out there. But if it's just a hurt and not an injury, sometimes in this sport, and look, man, I certainly would never question the toughness of a football player. I'm a middle-aged, unathletic dude that, I went to the hospital for a kickball injury a couple of years ago.
What?
So I'm not one. Well, I didn't go to the hospital. I went to a walk-in clinic because I thought I'd crack some ribs.
All right, well, I mean, come on, that's scary. It's ribs.
My
lungs.
drunk friend. We're playing kickball with our kids, backyard, probably 9:00 at night. My drunk friend, crazy. I don't know how he was so drunk at 9:00 at night.
On a school night? Was it a weekend?
No, it was a Saturday night.
All right.
One of the kids kicks the ball. I go run up to catch it. He goes full speed into me as if he's in the 7th game of the World Series. I mean, I didn't know I had to call it because it was kicked right to me. But he crushes me hard, and I land on my ribs. And I thought I'd broken my ribs. And the thing is that I learned is even broken ribs, cracked ribs, sprained ribs, it doesn't matter. There's nothing they can do for it.
Right.
They'll just give you pain meds. It's not like they can go in there and fix it. So anyway, I got an X-ray, and they're like, no, it's not cracked. You're fine. It really hurt, man. It was tough to sleep. You ever had a rib injury?
No, knock on wood.
That stuff is painful, man, and it was so dumb to get it playing kickball. I'm still mad at him for that. But anyway, so far be it from me to say a kid's not being tough, because who am I? I'm not questioning his toughness. I'm saying in that sport in particular, you have to have the mindset of I'm going to play. If I can walk around and run, I'm going to play. And I'm not saying Jordan Travis didn't have that mindset, but I don't know that he did, because literally these last 2 weeks to me have been the only 2 games I remember him playing where he didn't limp off the field at some point.
Right.
Didn't come out of the game at some point. And I don't know if that's a mental thing, or I don't know if he's gotten better at not taking hits. I know that hit he took at the end of the half against Wake Forest was just ridiculous, but he got crushed. So, but other than that, he hadn't taken a ton of huge hits, but he has been tackled. I mean, you would have told me last year, or beginning of this year, that there would be 2 straight games where he ran for over 100 yards and didn't have to come out for a play or two to either catch his breath, get something looked at, because that's a lot of wear and tear on the body. And he's stood up to it. I don't know why. Maybe it's luck. Maybe he is tougher mentally, physically. Again, I don't want to imply that he wasn't tough. Not tough. He's just he knows now, unless he can't play, he doesn't need to come. Unless he can't play, like something's really wrong, he doesn't need to come out of the game. But he did a good job of not taking big hits. And when he gets 6 yards and he's about to get hit, he ducks down. Smart thing to do.
Yeah, just still trying to figure out how this all changed. And again, ask Kenny about it. And I really think there, I'm not trying to create drama here, everybody, so chill out. But I do think that Kenny maybe feels or felt a little bit more bullish on what Jordan could be than maybe other guys on the offensive staff, namely his boss. Because just the way, and listen, that's fine. And I remember asking Norvell about that a few weeks ago, about how much he values Kenny for being kind of a differing voice. And he's like, yeah, man. I don't want a yes man. He's like, I love Kenny because he does see things differently, and we're able to kind of communicate. Because, man, Kenny Dillingham believes in that kid. But, like, they went into that Louisville game with, that was all Milton, right? That entire game was Milton. And then you felt good in the second half, right? They rallied, especially the defense. But, he put the ball up, and you can say what you want about Andrew Parchment not maybe doing the right thing, but whatever. So you walk out of that game, okay, the defense is a little bit better. Maybe this quarterback thing has kind of settled itself. But then it's like, oh, no, we're right back to going all in with Jordan Travis, because, he ran the entire time in the Syracuse game. And he was banged up that week, to your point. Like, he had a really cumbersome brace on his leg and was just, like, swinging his leg out, walking with a really pronounced, like almost exaggerated limp, where you're like, is this, like, what are we even doing right now? But he toughed it out. And then he played Syracuse game, dub, played the North Carolina game at an extremely high level, another dub. He's probably going to play another high level against UMass, another dub, and then attention turns to Clemson. 3:30 kickoff, Corey. What do you think about that one? For us, then. And I think like they play 3:30 against Pitt.
Yeah, 3:30 at Death Valley. Are they at Pitt this week?
Yes, they are.
Clemson. Yeah, that's a tough game, man. I think they're an underdog. When's the last time Clemson was an underdog in an ACC game? Jeez. I bet it was 2014 against Florida State. And even then, I don't know what happened to the line once Jameis found out Jameis wasn't going to play.
Yeah.
But that has to be that they have not been an underdog in an ACC game in 7 years. That's crazy. Pitt's offense is for real, man. That kid can play at quarterback. It's fine. That's where I think that's when they usually play at Death Valley is 3:30. It certainly beats noon, because noon trying to get to Clemson for a noon game with that one single road going into that town off 85 is really hard. Because a 3:30 game, here's the way I look at it, Aslan.
Okay,
I'd like to get to Clemson around 1:30 for a 3:30 game. Gives me time to park, time to walk that crazy hill if I can't find the shuttle, and enjoy the atmosphere. Because everybody's been there since 9 or 10 in the morning tailgating. But for a noon game, nobody tailgates. They just go and park and go to the game, so everybody is on the road an hour and a half before the game. Because nobody's tailgating. Not many people are tailgating at 8. So the last time I was there for a noon game, I missed the kick. I missed the opening kickoff. Because couldn't park anywhere. Couldn't park. It was nuts.
When's the last time we played them at noon up there?
It was Tommy
15?
Bowden was still the coach.
Yeah, let's say, good guy. Right.
But either way, so yeah, I'm really interested to see what happens in that Clemson Pitt game, because that'll have a lot to do, I think, with the way that whole stadium feels and that whole team feels the next week when Florida State rolls in. Like if they go up there and look like the Clemson we're used to, and win, I don't know, 30-14 and look really good doing it, and the offense finds something, it's going to be a much more difficult task than if they go up there and lose and look like they've looked the whole season. Then I feel like, the bloom will be off that rose a little bit. They won't have any confidence, and Jordan Travis could light them up. I thought it was interesting when Dillingham talking about Travis, though, because, yeah, he's like, we got here, and people told us he couldn't throw an out route. And I wonder who he's talking about. Who are those people? Was it the former coaching staff?
He looked at us. He looked at me a lot. He looked at me a lot on Monday. I was kind of uncomfortable. I'm like, stop looking at me, man.
Maybe it was you. But how would you know? I don't remember you saying anything negative about Jordan Travis. Like, I legitimately wonder if it was just the way the other coaching staff that was here before him, really the two, but I mean, Briles and Walt Bell, but how Briles and Willie handled Jordan Travis, if like just the way he was used, they must have thought, man, this kid can't throw a lick. Otherwise, how the hell was this kid not playing the whole time instead of those two dudes?
Yeah, there's only one holdover on that staff offensively. I mean, besides Odell. I mean, Odell on the defense. I don't know. Maybe Odell sold them out. Either him or Dukins. Yeah. Otherwise, I don't know. Maybe coaches they played that he went up against. But then again, he didn't play in 19. He didn't play in 20.
Yeah, nobody
18.
would know. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's really odd that was something he was told. So I think they thought that he couldn't throw at all. Like he couldn't throw it from 1 yard stick to another. But he can throw the ball. He's not incredible back there with some of the stuff a quarterback needs to be as far as quick release and things like that. But he can throw the ball fine, especially when he has all the other stuff. And Kenny Dillingham really is a believer in Jordan Travis. I don't think that's coach speak. He talked about a play, and this is the kind of stuff that I think is a little bit overlooked when it comes to Jordan Travis's impact on the team, on the offense. Was he talked about a play where they put Pokey in motion, somebody in motion. This is Dillingham talking about it, and he's like, "Look, it was a terrible call. It wasn't a good call. We were expecting a look. When we ran the motion, they did not react how they were supposed to react, and that play was a lost play. It was a negative play." And it should have been basically he's saying it should have been a sack, or if Jordan Travis throws the ball where he's supposed to, it's a 5-yard loss because they couldn't get a blocker out there for the bubble screen. But Jordan Travis didn't throw the ball and instead scrambled ahead for 6 yards. So instead of being 2nd and 15, because of his unique skill set, they're 2nd and 4. That's a whole, like, imagine if McKenzie, and again, I don't want to take shots at the kid, but if that's McKenzie Milton, if he throws that pass and it's 2nd and 15, that's the end of the drive. This thing isn't really built for a lot of long yardage conversions. But instead, you have this guy that has unique ability to, if it's not there, perhaps create something on his own, and he makes play callers look a lot better. Instead of 2nd 15, it's 2nd 4. They get the first down, they go score. Those are huge plays. It's a 6-yard play. But it saved a drive. And those are the little things that Jordan Travis can do that really should start being appreciated the more he does them. And the thing is, you don't really know it until if Dillingham tells you a story like that about a play that was not a good play call that he saved just with his athletic ability and his read. He said it was a good read. It was a great read not to throw it because he knew it was going to get blown up. And he had a better chance of getting something positive just from tucking it and running than of throwing that football. And remember the play. So that shows some development, man. That shows some growth. The play I always go back to is the first play of the season against Notre Dame, where the screen is defended perfectly. There's nothing there. And instead of throwing the ball away, he throws it to Corbin's chest, who catches it because he has no other choice with his back to the defense, and they lose 6 yards. I feel like if they ran that same play today and it was covered just as well, Jordan Travis throws the ball away or throws it at his feet, and it's 2nd 10 instead of 2nd 16. That's the growth you like to see from an inexperienced quarterback who's getting more and more experienced every week.
Right, it's like 16 halves of football. I love the way that Kenny massages all these numbers when it comes.
Next year it'll be, look, guys, he's taken 900 snaps in his career. Come on, let's slow down. They say a quarterback doesn't really find out who he is till he gets to 2,500 snaps. Yeah, it's going to keep, the numbers are going to keep getting more and more massaged. But look, he hasn't played a ton. And Jordan Travis put up 28 against Notre Dame. But look at that Jordan Travis compared to the Jordan Travis against North Carolina. They look like a different quarterback. Yeah. So imagine if he keeps improving. And maybe this is his ceiling, but that's a pretty darn high ceiling. But what if he keeps getting better? What if he's just on his journey to being something? That's a pretty unique improvement in 6 weeks.
Yeah, I do wonder. Yeah, I did kind of want to ask that, but it would have been a bit of a bummer question. Also did want to ask Norvell when he was we're not going to look past UMass. I almost went like, how much of that is because of what happened against Jacksonville State? But I was like, that probably would come off as being rude. But yeah, I do wonder, because obviously the way Kenny talks about Jordan, and to your point about even if North Carolina is like his ceiling or just one notch below it, you still feel pretty good about that. I mean,
that was great. Yeah, man, of course.
Like if you give us that for 16 more games, however many more,
with better personnel out wide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
I mean, I don't think they want to have an offense where they only throw the ball 13 times. That was a weird game. They only really had 7 possessions. It was an odd game.
Everything about it was just the crowd, everything about that game was
was just goofy. It was just an odd game. But yeah, I think looking ahead, if he gets better playmakers out wide and continues to stay healthy and run like that, and the 2 backs continue to run like that, you've got yourself an offense, man. You've got yourself an offense with that guy running it. It's just a matter of keeping that guy running it and keeping him improving. He's going to have he's going to throw some picks. He's going to have some tough moments. But by and large, what is Jordan Travis going to look like? Florida's just such a different animal. He's never played in an environment like that. But let's see what he looks like at Boston College compared to what he looked like at Wake Forest or against Notre Dame. That's what I want to see. How much better is he that week than he was those weeks?
Yeah,
because I think that's the guy you'll be getting next. Well, again, I just think there's some pretty substantial mismatches on that offensive side of the ball against Clemson that I don't know that that's a fair gauge to say. What if Florida State scores 10 points against Clemson? Does that mean he can't play? All of a sudden he's not a good quarterback? I think he's still evolving. But your offensive line is going to struggle mightily to block those guys. And I don't know how open your receivers can get. But against the defense with similar talent to your offense, I'd like to see what he looks like. Like Wake Forest. Like he was okay against Wake Forest, but he wasn't anything special. I mean, he did lead him to 2 touchdown drives. The other guy didn't, but that's neither here nor there. But I think that those are good gauges to see, okay, that second to last game of the season, Boston College, up there on the road, how does he look? Does he look calm in the pocket? Dillingham talked about that too, like how much more calm they're still trying to work on him being calm in the pocket. And he said, yeah, man, when you're in a green jersey in practice, you can stand back there all day and be calm because you know you're not going to get hit. He's like, I think that's what they liked so much about the North Carolina game was that he did, when it was a throwing down, a couple of times he really stood in there and threw the ball and stayed and looked calm in the pocket. That's the next step he has to take.
Offensive line played well. Offensive line played well for him in that game, so that certainly helps. We also spoke to Adam Fuller, John Papuchis. Is everything so heavily tilted, at least in terms of Florida State's improvement over here the last few weeks, and what we think they could possibly be? Is so much of it on the offense that you're no longer as concerned about the defense? Is the defense out of the woods? Do we start thinking about, oh, wow, Mike Norvell had 2 really big hires, and that was his offensive line coach and his defensive coordinator, and turns out he might have actually done well on both those hires now? Or is that premature talk?
Yes, that's premature.
Okay.
But I like how Adam Fuller always talks about wanting to play the same 4 or 5 guys in the secondary. Like, he ain't about that rotating life at all. Nope. He's talking about how the reason the secondary has had so many less, like, just straight up blown coverages the last 2 weeks is because it's been the same guys out there. And it's not just that those guys are getting better because they're getting more reps, those individual guys, but they're getting reps as a unit together. So they know how to, to match routes, to pick up a route, to know where your zone is if you're playing zone, or just what your responsibilities are, and trust the guy that he's going to be there. That stuff comes with playing with each other. And I think he makes the point every week, and it's something I hadn't really thought about a ton in regards to his defense, but it's true. When you rotate so many guys on the back end, Akeem Dent probably doesn't play a ton with Jarvis Brownlee or Jarian Jones because they keep rotating in different guys. He doesn't have a ton of reps with those guys. Sidney Williams is getting more and more reps with like Jarian Jones or Brownlee, and they know where they're supposed to be. And Jamie Robinson at the other safety spot. The more they're there, knowing what their responsibilities are, and they can stay on the field as a quartet or a quintet, the better they get because they're just used to being around each other. You build up consistency that way, and Fuller keeps stressing that that's been a real problem. And it really goes back to last year. Remember last year in the secondary, it was a bloodbath. Nobody could stay healthy. He could never have the same 4 or 5 guys on the field ever, like from quarter, not even from game to game, from like quarter to quarter. So there were huge miscommunication errors because you had guys playing with guys they weren't used to playing with. And he's like, do we want to play all those guys 70 snaps a game? Probably not, but I'm not against it either. So, yeah, man, like the Renardo Greens of the world, unless there's injuries or something, he might not be playing a lot.
It's on the depth
chart. Same with
chart.
Brendan Gant.
Yeah. I don't know if Gant's on, but I definitely saw that Renardo's not on the depth chart. I think Mako's second team. It's just unfortunate. I just think he's a talented guy athletically. Renardo
well, and I would
but
like
you got to be counted on him. So.
And, we talked about the only person that was asked about Travis Jay was Papuchis because of the kick return, but I am genuinely curious what they end up doing with him. Is he just going to stay at corner and be a second string corner? Or are they going to try to put him back at safety for next year? Like, I just feel like there's got to be a way to utilize his ability in a way that's better than this. Now, I know he's been hurt, which hopefully that's not a common theme with him. But moving forward for the rest of this season, I am interested in what they do with him because he looked healthy on the kick return, and they put him in for Hail Marys. So it seems like he's doing okay. So starting this week, I want to see how much he plays and what their plan is for him because I just feel like he's too talented physically on a team that doesn't have a lot of freaks to not be making an impact somewhere. So we'll see how that manifests itself the rest of the season. But yeah, I mean you have guys like Dotson and Travis Jay that just aren't playing much. Renardo Green, all these guys have started and played a good bit. And because of injuries or other reasons, they're not getting on the field, and I don't think Fuller's against it. I mean, if it's going to – I think his thought is I'd rather have 5 average players. You don't really want 5 average players ever, but I'd rather have 5 average players that play 80 snaps a game together every game than a bunch of really good players that can't ever be on the field and we're having to mix and match and having all these communication errors. So – as long as these guys, Sidney Williams, Robinson, Brownlee, Jarian Jones, and Kevin Noles, that's the 5 he likes out there right now. Those are his guys. And, if hopefully for his sake, they can stay healthy and keep getting better and better.
Yep, that's the starting 5 on the back end. Some housekeeping. The SEC does fine teams $250,000 for storming the field, but apparently there's a sliding scale. So A&M was fined $100,000 for storming the field against Bama. Tennessee was fined the full $250,000 for fan behavior. I guess they're throwing golf balls at my guy Lane. So Tennessee, catching the L and then having to spend $250,000.
That was that was crazy. Like the call, it's a bad spot.
But it wasn't. But yeah, go ahead.
It wasn't incredibly bad. Like the problem with the spot, this is where all the water and stuff got thrown on the field. Well, more than water, was like that guy made a terrible spot. He was a yard short of where he actually came down. But even if he'd have spotted it right where the ball is, right where the ball was when he got tackled, I'm still not sure it was a first down. And I don't know that they would have overturned it because they didn't have a good angle. But yeah, that was a terrible spot. You guys tell me why these billion-dollar industries still rely on old men, and I am one, so I can say that, old men 30, 40, 50 feet away from the play, trying to determine where this oblong ball that's, 9 inches long, 10 inches long, actually is on a field. I mean, it's crazy. We can't put a sensor in the ball, Aslan.
Lasers.
Put a sensor in the ball. Tennis figured this out 20 years ago. Why is it hard?
Is there a sensor in tennis balls?
No, but the replay technology.
Yeah, the Cyclops thing, whatever.
Yeah, they figured that out forever ago, and it's the quickest. Meanwhile, baseball is still a joke. Football, they review things that just don't matter half the time. Tennis, it's like, I want to challenge that call. Okay, well, here's the result in 3 seconds. We're all going to see it together. The call was right. Get back and serve again. Yeah. Like, why can't it be like that? And why, if you put a chip in the ball and it relates to the sensor of the first down marker, for heaven's sake, man, we're done. You can't even argue it. You would get done with all of the bad spots. And another thing, man, when I was growing up, even to about 10 or 15 years ago, there were like 15 or 20 measurements a game, it seemed like. If it was close at all, they would measure. Come on out, guys. Come on out. Like literally like 7 or 8. I overstated it. It wasn't 15 or 20. Yeah. But there'd be 7 or 8 times during the course of a game where the crew would come out and measure. Now it happens once a month. They just willy-nilly, like, yep, that's a first down. Move it. Move it. Yep, he got it. Without, there's no, it's so inexact. In a sport that is so exact, it's baffling. It's just baffling. It's not, the technology has to be there, right? Laser tag's been around forever. You can't tell me you can't somehow harness that incredible laser tag technology into the tip of a football on both ends and say, yep, that's where it reached. We know exactly the yard line it was at.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the chains are still chains. Who knows if the links are all perfectly an inch long or however long they're supposed to be, and they're taped with electrical tape to the. Yeah. It's all crazy.
You think about the fact, real quick though, like 50 years ago, like I was at that Georgia game, and the guy behind me was talking about how when he was there, because he's been going to games since the 60s, they didn't have an upper deck in that stadium. All the coaches were on the field. They had nobody in the skybox. They didn't have drone cameras filming the game. They didn't have all 22s. They didn't have any of this stuff that they had. Think of all the advances that have been made in football in the last 50 or 60 years. All of them. From everything. I don't even have to list them. You guys know all the advancements that have been made in the sport. And yet they still measure first downs and touchdowns as if they're in the 1920s or 30s, and Red Grange is the running back. Like, how have you not evolved? Nothing infuriates me more than the dude's not even on the first down line. He doesn't even have a good angle on it, because it's not like he's standing at the yard marker looking to see, okay, did he get it? No, he's back where the play started. So he's having to run up. Some fat old guy is having to run up and eyeball it. I mean, it's $1 billion industry, and you have somebody eyeballing it from 30 feet away that's not in good shape, most of them. I know there's some refs that are jacked that could crush me. Most of them aren't in great shape, or at least some of them aren't. Either way, it's just preposterous that it's still this archaic way to measure first downs and touchdowns when everything else in the sport has been improved, have made all these technological improvements, like exponentially wise. But still, the yard markers, the way we measure first downs, let's keep that rolling until, I don't know, how about the year 2090? Just keep rolling until there's no more football. This is how you're always going to measure first downs. Anywho, go ahead.
I would have taken Ira as the guy that was going to dress up as a ref for Halloween and carrying one of those canes that the vision impaired people have. But apparently that's you.
I got nothing but love for referees. It's a hard job. Quit asking them to do that. Let them look at pass interference and holding. Quit having to eyeball a first down.
Just because somebody posted on the Tribal Council, what do we have to do, Corey Clark? Last thing on the way out. What do we have to do to stop this evil plague that apparently is players faking injuries? I'm not. I mean, it's y'all want to run and go fast and do all your nonsense. They're going to figure out, hey, you figured out a way to get past defenses that are bigger, faster, and stronger is by doing this up-tempo stuff. Well, they're going to, it's part of the game. It's part of the cat and mousing of football. I am not all that. I don't like up-tempo offenses, so I'm not all that bothered by this. As it's something that's, rustled your druthers.
No. And the Penn State-Iowa thing was weird anyway. Like, why would Penn State – it's not like Iowa goes fast anyway. Well, that whole kerfuffle was a little odd. But, no, man, I mean, the only thing I could think is that, like, if you come out of a game for an injury, you have to stay out for at least, 8 plays.
Ooh, wow.
Come
8?
Up with some minimum number.
Oh,
5, whatever it has to be. If you come out of the game for an injury, especially a defensive injury, you can't go back on the field for 5 or 6 plays. Maybe. But I don't – man, I'm like you. I don't have a problem with it because everything that's happened in this sport for the last 50 years, going back to the days of where they still measured Red Grange's runs by chains, a stupid 10-yard length of chain. That's how. Let's never fix that. Let's do that for the rest of our lives. Everything has been done to help the offense. Every single rule change, the way the game is played, it's all been done to help the offense. You used to not be able to intentional ground the ball at all. It didn't matter if you're outside of the pocket or not. You weren't allowed to do that. I would love for that to come back.
Yes.
I think that's now look, you could say, oh, that's going to lead the quarterback taking more hits or maybe some more interceptions or some more incompletions. I hate when a defense plays a play perfectly, makes the guy scramble 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and he just gets to simply throw it into the crowd because he's outside the pocket, and it doesn't count as a win for the defense.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that should be a 9-yard loss. Wherever he's at when he throws it out of bounds, if you're not trying to throw a pass to one of your teammates, I don't care if you're standing on the sideline or 1 inch from the sideline. That should be intentional grounding. That would help the defenses tremendously. But other than that, yeah. Look, man, the defenses have a real hard time. These offenses are hard to deal with, and if you're going to go and these kids are gassed or tired or confused, there's nothing in the rule that says you can't do it. So yeah, fake an injury, slow them down. It worked with Virginia Tech against Florida State. We all thought it was ridiculous, and it was because it was so obvious. But it worked. Florida State didn't score after that long Cam Akers run. It's what you do. If you want to keep them from snapping the ball quick, that's the only real recourse you have. So I would like, if I was the commissioner of football, that's what I would do. Is I'd say, look, if you fake a defensive injury, if you're injured on defense, you have to sit out at least 5 plays. You can't come back for 5 plays. For personal safety, we want to make sure you're not being rushed back in there. We want you to get a real good look by the trainers. So 5 plays minimum. Also, the trade-off is there is no more legal grounding.
Okay.
Every time a quarterback throws it into the stands, it's intentional grounding, and it's a loss of down from where he threw it. That's the trade-off. I think defensive coordinators will be good with that, right?
I want more 2017 football games. I want 17-14. I want football.
I kind of saw one in Athens. That was it's kind of a throwback a little bit.
Hey man, nothing.
By the way, so speaking, I know we're about to leave. So we did leave the Braves game early, where they were down. It was only 4-2. It wasn't like it was 9-2 in the 8th inning of a NLCS game. We did leave that early, but the Georgia-Kentucky game, we did not leave early, even though Georgia was up 30-7 in the 4th quarter. The reason being, I know you didn't watch this game. There'd be no reason to. Georgia scored to go up 30-7 with 11 and a half minutes to go in the 4th quarter. It was a relatively close game. Like it was within 2 scores the whole game. Then until that made it 30-7. Brady's like, when do you want to leave? I guess that's what he does. He just asks those questions. And I'm like, well, let's see Georgia get the ball back one more time. Well, let's see one more offensive series, then we'll go then. Meanwhile, Kentucky then proceeded to go on a 20-play, 11.5-minute drive, and they scored a touchdown with 3 seconds left in the game.
That's incredible. Really?
I've never
plays?
seen it. So what? You didn't want to leave because they converted like 3 4th downs. I didn't want to like the defense is the reason Georgia's so good. So I didn't want to be like, well, let's bounce. We're not going to get to see this potent Georgia offense again. So let's bounce with the best defense in school history on the field. So I was like, let's just wait till the end of this drive is over, and it would not end. And there were 2 reviews. There was a kid that got hurt for 3 minutes before he was limped off the field. In the last drive took 11.5 minutes of game time, and no joke, probably 30 minutes of real time. Georgia never got the ball back. I've never seen a team down 30-7 go on a 20-play, 11.5-minute drive. It was nuts. I mean, he was waving the white flag without actually doing it because he wasn't trying to stay in the game, clearly, because why would you go that slow? He called a timeout with 5 seconds left when the clock was about to run out so he could get one more play. And I have no problem with that. He's looking to score. Jimbo would do that too. But yeah, that was my luck. Is I was like, yeah, let's leave this one early because it's over. Georgia's clearly won. It's in hand. But I just want to see one more series. Well, that's an 11.5-minute series that takes an hour. Now, do we want to hang out at this NLCS game to see if there's any magic left in the Braves dugout? Nah. Let's bounce. Listen to it on the radio. Good times. Still a fun weekend, but not my best moments as a like I said, as a fan dad.
Oh, hey, golly, buried the lead almost. Preseason poll out, men's hoops ranked 20th, Corey. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, again, it's more of a testament to what this program is because it's not like they have a lot of proven commodities. It's just that there's a there's a belief, well-earned belief, that no matter who's on the roster, Florida State is going to be good. And obviously they can be good, but it's a group of guys that have never really played together. You got Polite and Osborne and Wilkes to an extent. Everybody else is kind of new or in new roles. But yeah, man, that's just what Florida State does now. I mean, they lose. Think about what they lost off last year's team.
Oh, I know. I'm a little bit worried.
What I mean?
I don't know. Does this thing does the beat go on? I don't know. Like, has anything really changed all that much? I like Polite. I like Osborne. I like Wilkes. I mean, does Anthony take like a big step and becomes your alpha, if you will? But I mean, they've operated with 18 strong this whole time, so I don't. The beat just goes
the
on.
Houston
right?
I think the Houston transfer is probably going to be your alpha, at least on the offensive side of the ball.
Jalen Worley, is that his name?
That's the recruit.
Yeah.
He's the 5-star guard that's here. Matthew Cleveland is another 5-star freshman. And then they have, it's Caleb Mills and Cameron Fletcher from Kentucky. Those are 2 guys that they expect a lot out of. But
I
again,
forgot about that. Good thing we have you here, Corey.
Man. It's not like they don't have talent, but it's just not talent that's played a lot together. So there are going to be some lumps. I mean, Anthony Polite and Malik Osborne are like, neither one of them are stars. They're important players, but they're not. Maybe Malik Osborne can take like a Raekwon Gray type leap. He's got some skills. He's a good 3-point shooter. He's an athlete. So maybe I don't know. There's other things Raekwon does that Malik can't. And Anthony Polite's better than I ever thought he was, ever could be. So those 2 guys are going to be the leaders, but still, they're not. Last year your leaders were like your 2 leading scorers with MJ and Raekwon, and then Scotty Barnes is a freak of a nature and freak of personality too. So that was your trio. This trio is just guys that haven't played together before. So, look, man, they should be good. They're always good now. It'd be weird if they weren't. Don't know what the ceiling is. It all depends on getting in the tournament and then getting a right matchup. I feel like 20 is about fair. But I'd tell you this much. 5 years ago, Florida State had lost they literally lost, Balsa too.
Yeah,
and
Balsha.
Calhoun. They lost 5 of their top 7 players.
Sardar. Where is Sardar?
He went to Texas Tech.
Oh, really? Good for
Yeah,
him.
it's a good program. He'll probably average 16 a game. Just maybe not the right fit for Florida State, but talented dude, man, really talented. But yeah, so that's and I don't think they were happy that he declared for the draft.
Right.
I think that might have ruffled some feathers over there.
Raekwon Evans still around. I didn't look at.
He's around, yeah. Again,
the Viper squad is still here. Harrison Prito, Wyatt Wilkes,
they're
Justin
coming back.
Lindner. These kids are still around.
Yeah, they got, and that's a good thing for culture, is they have these guys that have been here forever. They really do. Like, you might roll your eyes at a walk-on being a leader, but these guys know what Florida State basketball is like, and they know what the practices are like, and they have a real role. Prieto and Linder and those guys, they have a real role on the team. They establish a culture, and they know the tempo of practice. And so if you're a new guy, you adjust to them, not the other way around. And so I do think that matters. Having guys like Wilkes, Polite, Raekwon Evans, they're not guys that are probably NBA guys. They're not superstars, but they're really big for the culture. And then it's the other guys that have to join that culture with the and they're the more talented guys like the Mills, the Fletchers, Cleveland, those guys. But it does help that you have kind of like a cocoon of really old dudes. Like, those guys have been around forever. I mean, Anthony Polite, Wilkes, those walk-ons, they've been around forever. So that really, they got an extra year because of COVID. So that really helps, I think, a lot. So that should help. But again, you lose that kind of talent, it's hard to say, okay, they're going to be better than they were last year. I mean, you just lost the number 4 pick in the draft for the second year in a row, by the way, after one season. It's crazy where they are.
Sixth man, though.
Yeah, neither one of them started, and they were the 4th pick in the draft. But yeah, I think that it's a matter of how well they mesh. But it's also, again, just a testament to Florida State that they're so much in the they're so relevant now nationally. They're in the forefront of people's minds around the country. That you just, what does Florida State have coming back? All right, Florida State lost all those guys. Okay, I'll rank them 19th. I'll rank them 22nd. Yeah. 5 years ago, when you lose like a Beasley and a Bacon, you're like, I'm not ranked. They're not even receiving votes. Now, when they lose a ton, they're still thought of so highly that they're 21st, 22nd in the country. I'm sure they were picked top 3 or 4 in the ACC standings because that's what they've established. That's what they've earned through these last 5 years. So, yeah, I expect another quality season, buddy.
Dude, Tanner Nagam is back. Forgot about him. Quincy Ballard. Naheem McLeod, 7'4", 248. Let's go. John Butler, though, 7'1", 190. He's a full 12 inches taller than I am, but all of like 12 pounds heavier.
Yeah, he is I saw him because Brady went to the camp, the Leonard Hamilton camp.
Hey, John, I'm with you, man. I want to gain weight too. If you figure it out, let me know, John. I'm not busting your chops on this. Let's work together. I want to weigh more too.
DM Clint Trickett. Maybe he can give you some tips too. He struggled with that. Yeah, man, that guy looks different. I mean, he is a very noticeable guy. I think they like him a lot. He was at Brady's basket when Brady went to the camp. Brady mentioned him quite a few times. It's just, I mean, but what does Brady know? He was 12.
Come on,
he's 7 foot.
He's
but he does.
I can see Brady being in the front office somewhere. I can see Brady being in front office. Hopefully not analytic. Hopefully not like overly analytical guy. But I can see him being front office, dude.
Man, the problem though, I could see that too. Him doing something with sports, but just going by how he handles a fantasy football team, all he does is trade and drop guys all the time.
You got to send.
Doesn't matter if his team's 4-1. I'm going to try to trade to get Mahomes. You don't need Mahomes. You got Lamar Jackson. You don't need Mahomes. I'm going to get Mahomes, and he just does it. So he's a little too reactionary and very impetuous to be a GM. But I wanted to say before we went out, I don't think I talked about this. Well, no, I couldn't have. Stetson Bennett was in front of us at the Braves game on Sunday night. The Georgia quarterback.
He just probably looked like a regular Kappa Sig fraternity brother. I would assume.
He was with I assume his girlfriend. I hope we don't get into that. He was with a female friend and just sitting there watching the game in not good seats. Like, I didn't get great. That was another reason I might have left early. It wasn't just that the clowns in front of me, they weren't great seats. My eyesight's terrible. I kind of reacted with the only hit I really saw were the 2 home runs. Seager hit one, and I'm like, yeah, that's gone. And then Jock Peterson's, I saw that off the bat. Everything else was tough. But he was like, he wasn't in great seats. He was like in left field, like 3 rows in front of me. Like, you would have thought the starting quarterback for the number 1 team in the country in his home state would have a better connection than that.
Was he getting mobbed? Did people recognize him? Was he wearing team apparel? Like, did he have
he was wearing a Georgia sweatshirt. He was actually wearing his jersey and his helmet. It was weird. No, that's what I would do. I can promise you that's what I would do. No, he would. People would just say from what I saw, when he stood up to go walk up the aisle, people would say Stetson and point to him, and he'd point back at him.
Nice.
Or, hey, Stetson, and he'd give a thumbs up. But nothing like, he wasn't getting hounded. Nobody's asking for autographs. Yeah. I'm surprised the guys in front of me didn't throw peanuts at him, just to make the evening a complete, a complete success. But yeah, he was just and he looks completely normal. And but people did notice him. And what I thought was funny, I was telling Ira about this, is like, if it had been Nakobe Dean, who is by all measures a much better football player than Stetson Bennett, nobody would have noticed him at all. Nobody would have known who he was. Yeah. He is a badass linebacker on the best defense the school has ever had. And if he was sitting next to Stetson, everybody like, Stetson, what's up? Who's your buddy? Does he play? And it's like, Nakobe Dean, man, is awesome. That's life. That's life in college football, man. The quarterback.
All right, folks, we are done, but we're never done at warchant.com as a family. Seminole headlines coming up 1 to 3 o'clock live on Warchant TV. That's our YouTube channel, as well as over the air on 93.3 FM in Tallahassee. So tune in to that.
And we got all those roundtables, right? We got all those roundtables on Warchant you can go read. Get a kind of feel for what we feel of the first half of the season. We talked about, Fuller, how he could save his job, if it's even in jeopardy, what we need to see from Jordan Travis the rest of the way, things like that. It's interesting read. So go over to Warchant and read that too.
He's Corey. I'm Azon. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, fueled, as always, by DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee features over 24 different blends. DeLuna's unique roasts can be delivered ground finely for drip coffee makers, coarse for the craft crowd, untouched as a whole bean, or even in convenient K-Cups. Founded in 2014 by the Lemmix family, Ed and Brett are FSU alums and boosters who are extending a special offer to all listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.